Hello, I'm Esther Gidhu-Ewart. It's Friday, February 3rd. This is Africa 54.
The Pope arrives in South Sudan for an unprecedented joint pilgrimage of peace with his Anglican and Scottish Presbyterian counterparts. Fear spreads in West Africa as a diphtheria outbreak kills dozens in Nigeria and neighboring Niger. And in our entertainment, Heather Maxwell presents a roundup of the African musician nominees along with special guest Jackson Mvunganyi.
Pope Francis arrived in South Sudan Friday for what is being called an unprecedented joint pilgrimage of peace with his Anglican and Scottish Presbyterian counterparts. The pontiff was received at Juba International Airport by President Salva Kiir, Catholic bishops and other government officials. South Sudan is struggling with war, poverty and floods and broke away from Sudan to become an independent nation in 2011 after decades of conflict. But civil war erupted in 2013. Despite a 2018 peace deal between the two main antagonists, violence and hunger still plague the country. The Pope is being accompanied by Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, leader of the Global Anglican Communion, and by Ian Greenshields, moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. The Pope's visit to South Sudan is a source of hope for many. Reporter Sheila Pony visited a camp for people displaced by violence and spoke to some of them about the expectations.
I'm very happy for his coming. So, as I say, Maria, I'm a Christian, and Pope also is a father. So I'm very glad that he's coming to South Sudan. He's a spiritual leader, and at the same time, he's going to be neutral. And we are having a very high expectation as the country during the war, so many years of suffering. So we are hoping for his visit that thing will change. And maybe there will be peace in South Sudan, a permanent peace.
He's the Son of God. He's praying for us. And then we expect that this year we get the peace. Our music is need the peace to go outside and we enjoy like our colleagues who are living in our side. And then us, IDP camp, we need our Father Pope to come and see us here in our camp, if it is possible.
Internally displaced people speaking to Sheila Pony in South Sudan. For more on the papal visit to South Sudan, I'm joined by John Tanza, host and managing editor of VOA South Sudan in Focus radio program. Hello, John.
Hi, Esther. It's always good to be here.
So now, this is the first papal visit in South Sudan. What are the likely key issues that the pontiff is going to address in your country?
I mean, the quest for peace has been on the Pope's agenda. When the President and his first Vice President visited Vatican in April 2019, the Pope kissed their feet and asked them, go back and end the violence in your country. And so when he was speaking, before coming to Africa, when he was addressing people in Rome, he talked about the search for peace is going to be paramount. So he is coming with a message of peace.
Now, you know, you have ears and eyes on the ground. VOA reporters are there. They're updating you with what's been going on, John. So this is the first time a pope has been accompanied by the leader of the Anglican Church and also the moderator of the Church of Scotland. How is this being received by the South Sudanese people?
I saw pictures on the streets of Juba. These are pictures I've never seen. Maybe you can compare it to the time the country got independence. The whole city erupted in celebration. People who have been fighting each other were standing close to each other, welcoming the Pope with smile and chanting and traditional dance. The mood in the capital was one of its unique one, if you like. So that visit brought unity, unity of purpose, unity for change in the country. So it's something that is very significant to a lot of South Sudanese.
Now, when we were coming into the studio, we were expecting to hear something from the Pope. Do you know if he has spoken or what has he said?
Yes, the Pontiff spoke, but he spoke in Italiano, and the translation was not coming clear due to signal issues from the ground. But what is more important is President Kiir told Pope Francis that when I visited you in Vatican, you kneel down, you humble yourself, you kiss my feet. It has worked. What you asked us to do has worked. You can see my first Vice President, Riek Machar, has been in Juba for a long time. This is a sign that we have listened to you. He said the rest of the issues in the peace agreement will be resolved. He assured the Pope that it will be resolved. When is the $1 million question?
You know, John, we saw the Pope in DRC. Now he's in South Sudan. Both countries have been racked by a lot of, conflicts, a lot of ethnic issues.
Correct.
And so what are people expecting to see? Do you feel like, they're going to be talking about the same issues? He talked about reconciliation, forgiveness, and people just opening their hearts and changing the way of doing things.
Well, these issues of reconciliation and forgiveness is an individual initiative. It comes from the individual. But the people on the ground, the people in South Sudan are tired of living in an environment where they are not able to improve their lives. They're not able to send their children to school. They're not able to even feed themselves. As we are talking, when the Pope was concluding his visit in DRC, coming to South Sudan, 27 people were killed in central Equatorial State. And that is just an example of how people want change, people want security, people want services. When the Pope came, all the roads in Juba were paved and clean, and everybody's making a joke. We hope the Pope will visit all the cities in South Sudan so that there is development.
All right. So, and what's lined up for the Pontiff tomorrow in
Tomorrow
Juba?
He's going to be meeting internal displaced people. And that meeting is key because he has been talking about those who are vulnerable. He's going to sit with them, and then he's going to meet the clergy, and there will be a mass at the Dr. John Garang Mausoleum that will be presided over by Pope Francis. They're calling it an ecumenical prayers. So tomorrow his timetable is also full of activities. Mm-hmm. But today he met with the vice president and the president. He's going to meet the civil society. He's going to meet the members of the diplomatic corps.
Definitely. Oh, great. It's all lined up, John. We'll see what happens tomorrow, and we'll talk about it again when we get back on Africa 54. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
All right. John Tanza is the host and managing editor of the South Sudan In Focus radio broadcast. And shortly before Pope Francis departed Kinshasa Friday, Patrick Muyaya, Congo's Minister of Communication, told VOA's Anastasie Tudiesh that the Pope's trip meant a lot for his country.
This trip was historic and very symbolic. As Congolese government, it's been a privilege for us to organize all this. We had more than 2 million Congolese people on the streets during the church, the service, the different services, no incidents, no injuries, no death. It means that we look at all details about the organization. And then the message was very powerful because the Pope spoke to the Congolese people, to the Congolese politician, even to the Congolese church. He used a good word to make sure everybody is doing good things or doing his part in the challenge we have. We are facing now to rebuild this country, to end the insecurity in the eastern part of DRC, and we think that there will be a before and then after the Pope's visit.
Now, that was Patrick Muyaya, the Congo Minister of Communications, speaking with VOA's Anastasie Tudiesh in Kinshasa. A recent outbreak of diphtheria in Nigeria has left dozens dead, but authorities now say the potentially deadly bacterial infection is also showing up in neighboring Niger. Yusuf Abdullahi reports from Niamey, Niger, in this report narrated by Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent Makori.
This is Gure town, 165 kilometers east from the city of Damagaram in Niger Republic, where about 500 people have contracted diphtheria, with 20 reported deaths. The situation is similar in the nearby town of Teska, where the disease has killed 15 people out of more than 40 who contracted it. It is the first time in 6 years diphtheria has shown up in the country.
Diphtheria is an infection of the throat, which also causes serious fever, headache, and the swelling of the neck.
The outbreak of the disease in Damagaram has put communities on edge, given the number of people it had killed.
I am urging people to come for immunization against this infection because it is deadly.
The international medical organization Médecins Sans Frontières is working with health authorities in Niger on a specialized immunization campaign to fight the outbreak.
We are assisting the Nigerian authorities with medicines and workers to treat those who contracted the infection.
Since the start of the immunization campaign, the situation is coming under control. There has been no rejection.
About 400,000 people have been immunized during the first round of the immunization campaign against diphtheria in Damagaram. For Yusuf Abdullahi in Niamey, Niger, I'm Vincent Makori, VOA News.
An energy crisis is taking a heavy toll on South Africa's water processing and distribution networks, triggering public outrage over the water shortages. VOA's Paul Ndiho has more.
Scheduled blackouts known as load shedding have burdened Africa's most industrialized economy for many years, with state-owned energy firm Eskom failing to keep up with the demand and maintain its aging power infrastructure. The impact on the worsening crisis on the water system is causing several cities and towns, including Johannesburg and Nelson Mandela Bay, to grapple with drastic water cuts. Businesses and citizens are becoming increasingly frustrated.
I'm losing clients because of water problem, because at times the water will not even come. Then at times it will be coming very slowly, very, very slowly. It really affects us.
Now you can't even flush, you can't cook, you can't do anything. You can't go to the toilet, you can't even bath. Can you imagine? You are smelling inside a taxi.
Some experts are warning of a full-blown water crisis in South Africa, citing the poor conditions of some water infrastructure.
Our infrastructure, first of all, is dilapidated. It hasn't been maintained for over 2 decades, so that obviously plays a role. We have major water leaks as well as bursting pipes, so that contributes to your non-revenue water, which is physically lost water. Over 40% of that water it's treated water, it's drinkable water, that gets lost between the reservoir towards the consumer.
Reservoirs in Johannesburg are running dry due to low rainfall and the heat wave conditions. Water tanks are being placed across the cities as the water cuts become more frequent. However, with the tanks servicing hundreds of people at a time, experts are calling for more action in what they describe as a dire situation. Eskom anticipates that daily power cut outages will continue for 2 more years and hammer economic growth, while fueling widespread discontent among businesses and households. In January, thousands of people took to the streets across South Africa to protest prolonged energy crisis that has resulted in massive power cuts. Demonstrators marched to the headquarters of the African National Congress Party, which has been in power for almost 3 decades. Some held signs reading, "Enough is enough. Power to the people. Load shedding is killing jobs." A reference to scheduled power cuts. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Still to come, U.S. President Joe Biden prepares to give his second State of the Union address. Stay with us.
Are you in an interracial relationship? What challenges are you encountering? Tune in to the next episode of Our Voices as we discuss interracial marriages. We'll speak with couples and share their personal stories and advice on what it takes to make their union work. We'll also talk about navigating family dynamics and celebrating cultural traditions. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
From around the world. Let's go.
You're watching Africa 54 from the Voice of America here in Washington, D.C. In other news, on Friday, a Kenyan court has given decades-long prison sentences to 3 police officers and their civilian informant for the 2016 murder of human rights lawyer Willie Kimani. The 4 defendants were convicted of murder in July 2022. The lead defendant, Frederick Lelimani, was sentenced to death by the court. However, Kenya has not executed anyone since 1987, and death sentences usually are commuted to life in prison. Tunisia's powerful UGTT trade union chief Noureddin Taboubi is accusing President Kais Saied of targeting it to distract the public from the record-low election turnout and the total failure of his economic policies. A United Nations expert, Radouan Nuissa, is calling for reforms in Sudan's security services and accountability during a first visit to the country, reeling from turmoil since a 2021 military power grab. Nuissa, a Tunisian diplomat, met with coup leader General Al-Burhan and his deputy, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. Will U.S. President Joe Biden's second annual State of the Union speech be a rerun of the first, or will he cover new ground? VOA's Anita Powell has more from Washington.
Ukrainian ambassador to the United States.
This is the chance for President Joe Biden to lay out his priorities before the newly sworn-in Congress. Days ahead of Tuesday night's speech, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre warned that the speech was often reworked until the very last moment. But she said some topics are a safe bet.
The significant economic progress we're seeing under his leadership, his economic vision that's building our economy from the bottom up and middle out, the historic pieces of legislation passed into law over the last 2 years, which are creating good, paying middle-class jobs and delivering real results for people by fixing our roads, bridges, tunnels, lowering costs on everyday goods.
But, says historian Jeremy Suri, this policy speech is also, and always, politicized. He spoke to VOA on Zoom.
The politics matter for policy. So this is the opportunity the president has each year to try to set the agenda and to frame the public debate in ways that will benefit him and his party, but also hopefully create pressures toward the policy goals that he has.
Suri said he expects Biden to revisit his previous remarks on the soul of the nation and what he sees as threats to democracy from the far right. The war in Ukraine is also likely to come up, as it did a year ago, when it was in its infancy and Biden spoke of the West's need to help the nation fend off the Russian invasion. Biden has also said his administration wants new laws on abortion, gun violence, and police reform. But he faces a challenge. Congress holds the power to pass laws, and the opposition Republican Party now controls one of the 2 chambers. New House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who will take his seat behind the president on Tuesday, is locked in a debate with Biden over how to spend American taxpayer money. Republicans seek major cuts to government spending.
I've been very clear. The current path we're on, we cannot sustain. We got to change the directory to put ourselves on a path to balance. How we get there will be our discussions.
Ansari says people will be watching McCarthy's reactions as he sits behind Biden during the address.
If he frowns, if he shows his displeasure, he looks dyspeptic. He looks like he's not cooperative. He looks like he's an extremist. But if he looks too happy to engage with President Biden, then of course he will alienate the far right in his party, the small group within his party and within the House who are demanding that he take on the president.
This mix of politics, policy, pomp, and personalities will be on full display when Biden speaks Tuesday night. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
It's time for our entertainment report, and joining us now is Heather Maxwell, host of VOA's Music Time in Africa radio program. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Esther. So the 65th annual Grammy Awards ceremony is being held in Los Angeles on Sunday, and we are excited about the African nominees. Now, Jackson Mvunganyi,
hello,
host of VOA's Red Carpet, joins me. And Jackson, it's great to have you here. Shall we do this?
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, in the category of Best Global Music Performance, we have Ghanaian reggae dancehall artist Rocky Dawuni,
yes,
with Never Bow Down.
Never Bow Down.
And it features
Yes.
Black Hero. So let's take a look at that. So I like this video, but I actually love the song. It's the song that attracts me the most.
Song. Rocky Dawuni is an industry veteran. He's been around the block. This is his second nomination. He was nominated first in 2015. This apparently he wrote the whole album during the lockdown in the pandemic. Yeah, so it's a really deep, rich album, and really kudos to Rocky Dawuni. Hopefully he wins this.
Hopefully he wins this, and this will be his second time. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, we're rooting for him.
We're rooting for him. Yes, remember we actually had him on our Drop the Needle,
Absolutely,
the episode. Yes. Rocky Dawuni. Shout out to you, Rocky.
Never bow down.
Never bow down.
All right, so also we have Ugandan dancehall artist Eddie Kenzo.
I'm very excited for Eddie Kenzo.
Yes, and he's got a feature with Matt B, who's an American singer. And it's an Luganda-English collaboration. The song is called Gimme Love.
Gimme Love.
Gimme Love.
Eddie Kenzo, very excited for him, very happy for him. Kid, you know, had a difficult life growing up, grew up on the streets of Kampala as a street child. His parents died when he was young, grew up to this global superstar. But most importantly, Heather, he never forgot where he came from.
No,
right?
No, and you know, he spoke with AFP and he said he felt like he was dreaming with this nomination.
Yes.
He's so excited about it, and he just wants the opportunity to share the message that anybody
can make it. Yes,
if
he
can do it,
absolutely.
Anybody can.
Absolutely, such a beautiful message.
I love
Eddie
that.
Kenzo has been doing it. Is one of I think the only Ugandan to ever be nominated for a Grammy, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, well, I'm not sure, but he's definitely the only Ugandan in this category.
In this category,
yeah,
right.
Global performance.
And I hope he really wins. He deserves it. He's been doing really good things for his community, you know, impoverished communities in Kampala, Uganda. And Eddie Kenzo has been there for his people. And this nomination and this award would mean so much for them.
It would. Have you ever met him, Jackson?
I've not met him, but I've been in close proximity with him, with his people. He was supposed to be on my show a couple of years ago in the early days of his career, because he usually comes to Washington, D.C. I never had a chance. Hopefully this year we'll get a chance to wait when he wins the Grammy. So bring the Grammy here to Washington, D.C., to Voice of America Studios, Eddie Kenzo.
Yes, do it. All right, Jackson.
Yes. So what are we doing next? Is it Thames yet?
We're doing South Africa. This is still in the category of global music performance.
Right. Nomtsebo?
Yes.
Okay. So Nomtsebo's song apparently was taken down from Spotify by, you know, a lawsuit from some record label that said that it was infringing on copyrights. For those who don't know Nomtsebo, she's the singer of the massively, widely popular song,
Jerusalem.
So kudos to her. Hopefully she wins also this one. And you know, this would mean a lot to her. She's young, but she's been around. Such a beautiful voice, rich voice.
Very true. Yeah. And this isn't just her song, though. The song is called Bayete, and it's a trio. And it also includes Wouter Kellerman, who is a flutist. He's a white South African. And then we have Zake Sabantwini, also, who is part of this trio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also South African.
They're all South African.
Yes.
I love this music video.
It's a beautiful music video. The visuals are great. The sound is beautiful.
Yeah.
The flutes just, you know, meshes really well.
Yeah,
it's kind of a fusion song, really, when you think about it. You know, has elements of the flute, which are not, usually used in South African songs, and Nomcebo, beautiful voice. Great videos.
I agree. And we really see the Rainbow Nation in this video.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely.
I like that about it as well. And you have tradition, you have modernity.
Yes.
Yeah.
All together.
Yeah. Okay, so let's turn to Burna Boy. He's also, his song, Last, is also nominated in the same category.
Song.
It seems that the Recording Academy CEO, Henry Mason, had revealed in Ghana just in September that the Grammys are considering seriously starting an Afrobeats category.
Yes, that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah.
Understanding that, you know, Afrobeat has become this global cultural force that you can't really, you know, look the other way.
It's so true.
Putting it together in these little boxes of, global music and stuff doesn't work anymore. In itself, it's a force, and it deserves an award on itself. So hopefully the Academy considers that.
Yep. Now, for Best Global Music Album, we have Burna Boy again for Love Damini, and Angelique Kidjo with Ibrahim Malouf, who is he's a Lebanese French instrumentalist.
Interesting.
First Lebanese to be nominated in the Grammys.
Remember we hung out with Angelique Kidjo a couple of years ago here in Washington, D.C., right? Remember that?
That's right. Oh, we got to move on. We have one more. Thames, the Nigerian singer.
Oh, yes, Thames.
She is up also for Best Melodic Rap Performance and Best Rap Song.
Yes. Thames has had a really great year. First Nigerian to be nominated for an Oscar, actually.
Oh.
Yes, and so if she wins this and wins the Oscar, she'll be close to being an EGOT.
Jackson, we got to go. Thanks for joining me today. I can't wait to see who wins. Back to you, Esther.
And thank you, Heather and Jackson. That was a great segment. And thank you, our viewers, for watching Africa 54. Have a great weekend.